Hey everyone, welcome to the Wisconsin Whistle. I'm your host, Dan Vachalek, aka Dyhard. We got a big show today. We're going to have the host of the Indie Sports Nation, Big Mike. He'll be on talking about Pacers Bucks series coming up. That starts this Saturday at noon. I believe that game's on ESPN. Jericho Sims should be back for the first round. They just went to practice yesterday, and he got some work in. Also, Damian Lillard update so far. He will not be available at the start of the first round. He should be available at the back half, possibly, but that's not a guarantee. Obviously, we want him to, keep calm, take his pace with his injury and stuff. Blood clots, not really an injury. Outside of that, that's what our show is going to be about. The Brewers had a big win today. Another great performance from Jose Quintana. Back-to-back great performances by him. It seems like he's been the steal of the MLB offseason so far. They ended up winning yet another series after a really rough first game against Tarek Skubal. We'll get into that a little bit at the start of the show as well before we really dive deep into the playoff series between the Bucks and the Pacers. Again, Big Mike from the Indie Sports Nation will be coming on in about 15 minutes, so definitely want to stay tuned and listen to that and hear what Indiana fans and what their take is on the series, what they've seen from watching every single game of the Pacers compared to us being able to watch every single game of the Bucks and missing some other action and stuff unless you got League Pass. I don't have that, but we got a great show, big show today. Don't want to miss this show. All right, everyone. Welcome to the Wisconsin Whistle on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. I'm Dan Vachalek, a.k.a. Dyhard. So, as I was saying, there was a full update yesterday on Damian Lillard. So, they said he's made significant improvement from the blood clots or a deep vein thrombosis in the right calf. He's going to continue and increase his on-court basketball activity. It says, from General Manager John Horst, he said Damian's most recent weekly scan shows that his injury has significantly improved, which will enable him to move ahead safely with increased basketball activity. Damian's health remains our number one priority. We have followed strict protocols and will continue to do so. We are pleased with the positive news. Also, Doc Rivers had said that he's been able to add with the latest update on his basketball activity. He said just skeleton stuff, no contact, more shooting. He could exert himself more, which is good. Is there any possibility he plays in the first round? We're hopeful. We're just following the protocol, so we'll see. We don't know yet. Also, there was mention that he came out about 4 hours ago and says how Damian Lillard's body responded to the increased activity. He said, pretty good. We didn't do much with him today, though. We kind of shut him down in a lot of ways today. He did some conditioning work, but he's not at that point with 2 days in a row. That's just too much. So that's some stuff to monitor. Personally, my opinion, and I'll cover this again later with Big Mike. But I think the Bucks will actually do better if Dame does not play this round, just because of the chemistry, lineups, and I just don't know how he's going to play and factor in with Kevin Porter Jr. As I said last week, having three guys who really want the ball dominant is a little bit of a struggle offensively to coordinate everything, especially when Dame already has to adjust his game to being second fiddle to Giannis. Kevin Porter has actually been fantastic. You couldn't ask for someone better, especially when we got him from Marjan Beauchamp. They didn't even keep him. The Clippers ended up cutting him within a day or two of trading for him. So he's worked great with Giannis. really stepped it up in big steals at the end of games. Uh, I mean, just doing everything that you could ask, and he's been a fantastic part of the Bucks. And like I said last week, you got to keep him around. And if that means you trade Dame just to implement Kevin Porter as a starter or switch off with Ryan Rollins, that's perfectly fine with me. Also, that opens up a lot of cap space, money. Um, but Kevin Porter Jr., I think definitely needs to be in the future. And last time we saw him start, he was averaging 20 some points a game easily. Had a 50-pointer. I believe that was against the Bucks actually as well. Some other injury news I do want to get to. So Jericho Sims, he's been out about a month after getting surgery. I can't remember what he did to his thumb. He tore something in his thumb, a ligament or something in his thumb, actually against a different Pacers game earlier in the season. And they asked Doc Rivers, will Jericho Sims be available in the first round? Yeah, Doc Rivers said, yes, I think so, pretty sure of that. So while we won't see him probably Saturday, we will see him after that. Just some notes, I guess, that you want to keep in mind with Jericho Sims is as we saw a pronounced amount of play, we saw him actually play a lot. He was taking up Bobby Portis's minutes a little bit at the start of Bobby Portis's suspension, so that increased his minutes. Also, it's playoffs. He's coming back from a thumb injury and he's been off a month. He doesn't really have a lot of offense. So getting him, fully in there, integrated with the lineups, I won't expect him to play a big part in this series, but definitely getting him involved is going to help because we'll get into this as well, but you can't really trust Brook Lopez to play 35 plus minutes. Bobby has also shown, while he's been great in his return back from suspension, we have seen some lapses on defense as well. So that's something to keep in mind. Other than those two injury notes, everyone else seems to be rolling. They asked Giannis about his playoff advice, and he said, well, just don't get ejected. So that was good. And another quote from Bobby Portis, speaking of him, that I would like to share is he said, I've been through so much bullshit in my life in the last year. I got thrown out of a playoff game. I got robbed. My grandma died. I got suspended for 25 games. He said, can't anybody knock me off my swag no more, respectfully. So he's ready to roll. I love his tempo. When we watch them in the playoffs, Bobby Portis turns into a different animal, a different fired up. He's just fired up all the time. And him and his energy, along with Thanasis when he was on the bench, he's been sitting courtside at the Bucks games pretty much every game lately. So we'll definitely see him and having those fired up guys. They're big guys too, and they're fired up. It definitely helps the team overall. And we'll cover a lot of that stuff. I'm very happy Bobby Portis is back because that helps the offense a whole lot. You have a guy that mainly plays down low. When they came back against the Timberwolves, Bobby Portis's threes actually played a big part. He played a big part in that game as well. And then just to note, the Bucks did close out with 2 victories against the Pistons to close out the season. The first game, it was a pretty good game. Everybody played their part in that game. It was funny. I did want to note that Giannis did a shimmy, Pat Beverly's shimmy, and he didn't take too liking. He was not happy with that. However, after he said some comments on Twitter about that and the respect level, the Bucks ended up sitting everybody except Kyle Kuzma came out in the first quarter, dropped 22, was 5 of 7 from 3 in the first quarter. Pat Connaughton had a 40 ball, and the Bucks ended up winning with all of their bench players in overtime over the Pistons to secure those last 2 victories. headed into the postseason. So ending on a high note, even on the bench. And that's what I'll leave that off with. After the break, we will have Big Mike joining us from the Indie Sports Nation. So let's hear a quick word from our sponsors, and then we'll get into that. You're listening to the Wisconsin Whistle on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
IE Sports Radio fans, this show is brought to you by Planet Jerky Premium Brisket Beef Jerky. Planet Jerky is the official jerky of the 2022 California League champion Lake Elsinore Storm, Single A affiliate of the San Diego Padres. This all brisket jerky has gluten-free options, contains no MSG, no sodium nitrate, is low in sugar, and high in protein. Go to their website at planetjerky.net and follow them on Instagram at Planet Jerky. Planet Jerky, the jerky that's on a whole other planet.
Rise and shine. It's 4 a.m. The stars are still out. The sun is beneath the horizon, but it's time to punch in and go to work. The comfort of your warm-ups turns into the grinding out of your reps as the clinking and the clanking of the plates create a symphony of euphoria. There's no other feeling like it. Earn it, burn it, and take what's yours. IE Sports Radio has proudly partnered with Vital Apparel, a brand that not only fits great, but also promotes and donates to mental health research. Use our code IESR to get 15% off their comfortable and inspiring gym wear and help them on their amazing journey to support mental health. Go hard, take part in your iron therapy, and be strong. Because when your mental health is as strong as you are, there's no telling how far you'll go.
Hey there, IE Sports Radio fans. Be sure to check out our sponsor, Seal the Deal Wax Seals by Cecilia B. You just finished your very own wedding or baby shower invitations and you're looking for that extra special touch? Maybe you just wrote a letter to a relative or a friend and you want to add to their smile when they receive it. Then seal the deal with Cecilia's handmade sealing wax stamps for your invitations, letters, and gifts. You bring the deal, we'll bring the seal. You can find them on Instagram at sealthedeal_wax stamps and on Facebook, Seal the Deal Wax Seals.
For the last 10 years, IE Sports Radio has been bringing you amazing content ranging from interviewing legendary athletes, coaches, and other authorized media personnel to building tailor-made shows dedicated to all major sports cities around the country. Make sure to follow us at IE Sports Radio on X, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube to keep up with the latest in sports and with all of our shows. Also, make sure to check out our daily updated website at iesportsradio.com. At iSportsRadio.com, you can see our daily show schedule and check out all of our show pages with personal bios to learn a little bit more about each of our awesome hosts. In addition to our show pages, you can catch the iSports Radio blog, Hall of Fame, Fans of the Month page, and our merchandise shop, including t-shirts, tank tops, caps, long sleeves, hoodies, and more. For now over a decade here at iSports Radio, we've continued to be by the fans, for the fans, and we thank you all for your support and for making iSports Radio your direct feed for all that is sports.
Welcome back, everyone. This is the Wisconsin Whistle on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. I'm your host, Dan Vachalek, a.k.a. Dyhard. We have a new sponsor, Raw Nutrition Supplements. Go to getrawnutrition.com and use promo code IESR for 10% off. Again, that's getrawnutrition.com, and you could use promo code IESR for 10% off. Definitely check them out for all your supplements. If you work out, they're a fantastic company. So we have Big Mike, who hosts the Indie Sports Nation show, joining us, and we're going to be previewing the Bucks versus Pacers series. So welcome. Thank you for joining me, Big Mike. I appreciate it.
What is up, my man? How the heck are you?
Oh, I'm doing great. I'm doing great. I'm super excited for this series. It's Saturday, so, it's far away, but I can't wait. I wish I could press fast forward and go to Saturday and get through it. So,
yep.
How are you, Ben? How are you treating yourself? You looking forward to this series?
Yeah, it's going to be fun. It's going to be physical. I think going to probably be a little chippy at times.
Oh, definitely.
And that's just to putting that mildly, I think. But yes, I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, it should be good. Speaking of chippy, it was a little chippy last season in the postseason as well. Basically all over the place, from Tyrese Halliburton making his comments about the Bucks, how their fans were, to Bobby Portis getting ejected, to, it was, I think, who was the guy? It wasn't Malik Beasley. I think it was Pat Beverly that got threw a ball at a fan, and then now they ended up suing them and the Bucks and stuff. So it definitely got chippy, to say the least.
Yeah,
so
it did.
I expect more of the same this year, especially without Dame, but a pretty healthy Bucks team and a pretty healthy Pacers team as well.
Absolutely different. Two good teams, different. Different, slightly different looks than last year.
Definitely different looks. Actually, I had some little notes that I took down on the Pacers. So they started 16-18 by January 1st. They finished 50-32. So that's, since January 1st, they have the fourth best record in the NBA at 34-14, sixth best offense since January 1st as well, where Halliburton actually elevated his game to an all-NBA level. And a big part of that, I think, is the transitional offense that the Pacers have really thrived on this season, as they've gotten across the half-court line within 4 seconds on 76.8% of their offensive possessions this year. Yeah. That's going to be a problem for the Bucks to stop. Is one of their big things at the trade deadline was their transitional defense, along with their fast break offense. And, it doesn't seem like, outside of Porter and Kuzma kind of assisting in that, it doesn't seem like that's helped the Bucks too much this year, especially as I took some notes on fast break points between the two teams in the series. The Pacers have outscored the Bucks 97-45 on fast break points, including on March 15th, an 18-8 differential in favor of the Pacers, and a 31-3 differential on March 11th in that Pacers victory. And I believe that was the game Halliburton hit that 4-point three at the end, which was not fun. Why don't you tell me a little bit about about what you've noticed with transitional offense, fast-paced moving from the Pacers, and just a little bit, about the Pacers, what Milwaukee and the fans could expect from them.
Well, I think first and foremost, this is a better Pacer team overall than last year. Last year they were there early, man. I mean, last year the Pacers were just happy to get to the playoffs with all the rebuilding, whatever you want to call it, that they went through. And they get there and it's like, us Pacer fans are like, oh, I don't know if they're going to beat the Bucks or not, but hey, if they do, that'd be amazing. And holy crap. And then come across a Knicks team that was beat up and kind of ran them out of the arena by Game 7. And of course, you lost to Boston, but it was still early. There was like that. They wasn't supposed to get there to the finals. Like, no way. So now, of course, the expectations are a little higher, but I'm like, I don't know if that's fair because, this is a team again, 50 wins. I think for me, one of the biggest things overall, not so much at the beginning of the season because it was a rough start with all their injuries they had, to now is their overall defense has improved to where last year it was just high octane all the time because they had to put up 140 because they're going to give up 130.
Yeah.
I mean, so this year, some of that transition, kind of running a gun high octane, they've been more selective, if you will, because of that improved defense. But I think coming into this series, I might expect a little bit more of that high octane again, just because that zone that Milwaukee has played against the Pacers has given the Pacers a little bit of fits. It has been able to slow down that transitional offense a little bit. So I'll be really intrigued on how Milwaukee sets up their defense come Game 1.
Speaking of the zone, I've had mixed feelings about it as I've seen a lot of success from the Bucks with the zone, but I've also seen a lot of failures on backdoor cuts, players playing too high, and that's definitely going to be an issue when you have Siakam down low, Miles Turner. You have these players on the Pacers that could catch and shoot as well. You have Nembhard that could catch and shoot. Halliburton is definitely a guy that could catch and shoot. Mathurin is a guy that could catch and shoot. So, it doesn't matter if you do allow a backdoor cut. If you cover that, well, now you have a guy that's open at the 3, and that's what they thrive on. Mathurin is really, he was a rookie last season, I believe, right? Or was that the season before?
He was a rookie. Then he was out of the series last year because he got hurt.
Okay, because I know when he joined the league, he basically took the league by storm by that catch and shoot ability and by his offensive prowess and stuff. So, watching him develop in the limited time I have watched the Pacers, but especially against the Bucks, is really kind of gave us problems, especially when we don't have good perimeter defense. I think that's been one of the big things with the Bucks as well is, like you said, where the Pacers were having to score 140 because they're giving up 130. Well, that's what the Bucks have been recently. I mean, they shot 70% and almost lost. And then they, against the Hawks, they shot, I think, 80% or something in the first half and were down, So the Bucks have definitely seen that horrible defense and needing to, shoot out of the gym just to compete with teams.
Which you've done against us a few times. I pulled up I pulled up a stat, and don't mean to cut you off, but I was just because I'm, here in Indy, we tend to overanalyze sometimes. That's just kind of what we do. We're like, the national media, whatever, they're thinking it's going to be a Pacer series, and we're sitting there going, wait a minute here. This Gary Trent kid comes off the bench in these games, and he's shooting 54% from 3 against the Pacers this year.
Oh my God!
Like, holy crap! What? And then you got guys like Kevin Porter coming off the bench, just kind of giving the Pacers a little bit of fits. So again, we'll see what adjustments are made, obviously from both sides. But no, your point about Benedict Mathurin, obviously this will be his playoff debut. He's amped as you can imagine. He's getting there's actually a decent part of the fan base is not a big fan of his, which is a head scratcher to me. I think his game could potentially be a difference in this series because, to your point, he's a guy who can make some shots. He'll go in and He'll make cuts. He'll do ISO when he has to do ISO. He's a guy that's going to get you a bucket when you need a bucket.
Yeah, he's definitely. I'm surprised that Indy fans don't like him, especially because he is still young. He comes off the bench, but it seems like he's rather consistent when he does come off the bench offensively. In the Pacers win against the Bucks, he scored 17 off the bench. Then their last game against the Bucks, he did have only six, but he played 12 minutes and made all his threes. This season he's averaged 16 points a game, 46% from the field, 5 rebounds. 45% versus Milwaukee and 52% on threes against Milwaukee with 17 points a game. So he's been kind of a problem for the Bucks as well this year. So I'm actually shocked to hear some Pacers fans don't like him.
Yeah, it's a defensive thing. Defensively,
that's usually what it is. That's that's with us with Brook Lopez. Is I know a lot of the media or a lot of people outside of Milwaukee are like, well, why don't you like Brook Lopez? I think he's top. He's in the top of the league in blocks. He makes threes for you guys. Even though he's super slow, he still performs and stuff. And it's like, well, for half the season, you'd see him stand at the 3-point line and then watch the ball all the time. And now when you see him down low, he does make a difference on offense down low.
He does.
But like the transitional offense that I was talking about with how fast the Pacers do cross half court, another stat I saw is before the shot clock hits 22, so this is only 2 seconds, the Pacers cross half court 26.4% of the time, which is third highest in the NBA, compared to the Bucks, who are at 14%, which is last. And I think part of that would be Brook Lopez. He is slow, but he's going to have to speed it up. In my opinion, he's definitely going to have to speed it up. Another thing with Brook Lopez that I think you guys are going to be looking to take advantage of, and it's going to be a weakness for the Bucks, is him with rebounding. Is you do have Siakam, who could get a lot of boards. You do have Miles Turner that can get a lot of boards, and you guys have been very competitive with the Bucks in rebounding this season.
Yeah, and we're not. That's the thing about the Pacers. They're really not considered a strong rebounding team. They're just really not, because a lot of times you'll see Miles, hanging on the perimeter, because he can hit that three, and that's the nice thing about Miles is. And some people here, some of the old school people are like, "Oh, he's not that big post man." I'm like, well, that's not even the game anymore. Let's just be honest. But no, he'll do that high ball screen or whatnot. And the next thing you know, he's rolling out for 3, and bam, he'll hit it, and he'll make your big man come out and play defense, and that's where he has an advantage. But to your point about Siakam, I mean, he's actually the team leader in rebounds, and he's that scrappy guy that gets in there and will get those rebounds. And seeing those stats, when I saw this today, I was like, oh wow, it's really not. They're kind of on a similar playing field there. So that'll be interesting to see how that unfolds.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be very interesting. So it looks like, pulling up Siakam's stats, he's had 6.9 rebounds per game this season, but against the Bucks, it jumps up to 8.5. And then when you do talk about Brook Lopez, as he's averaged 5 rebounds a game, it drops to 4.8 against the Pacers. So I definitely think that's going to be something to keep your eyes on with Siakam. Even though Turner does like to sit at the 3, that's going to be interesting because Lopez likes to sit at the 3. So, those players should probably cancel each other out.
Right, exactly.
That means that Giannis is going to have to really cover Siakam a lot more. And both of those guys will go head-to-head and knock heads with each other.
Yes, and the other player from the Pacers standpoint that I think could be another key piece to this series is Aaron Nesmith.
Yes.
He has been playing some really good basketballs of late. He did not play exceptionally well in last year's playoffs for the entirety of the playoffs, for that matter, for the most part. He's been hitting some shots. He's a guy that can get to the basket. and he's 92% from the stripe, and he can play defense. So, I mean, I would expect there'll be some times where, now Neesmith's issue is he gets called for fouls all the time, and he's just that unlucky guy. We all know how NBA officiating is. I mean, he literally it wasn't the last game with the Cavs. It was the last game they played here in Indy. It was to clinch the 4 seed. Literally, Neesmith was going for a layup and got clocked upside the head. It wasn't malicious, but he got clocked upside the head, which per the rule should have been a flagrant.
Yeah.
And then the referee's like, "Oh no, common foul."
Yeah, we've seen that. We saw that with Giannis. He got. Basically, they lowered a shoulder into him. Not a basketball play at all. And it was a common foul. I think the last time we played the Pacers, Porter ended up getting hit in the head probably 5 times. No idea how he didn't have a concussion, but like 2 or 3 of those, he got called for the foul. And speaking of foul trouble, Neesmith actually does average 2.5 fouls a game and 3 against the Bucks in his 2 games, but he shoots very well against them at 55% from the field, is 63% from 3, averaging 19.5 points per game. And that's another thing that's kind of been a story for the Bucks as well, is allowing, I'm not going to say no names, but lesser known players. Now, obviously, Indy fans are very familiar with, their roster. Outside of Indy, I'm not sure how much Neesmith does have, notable, household name type, familiarity. But that's the type of player where it's like, okay, he's going to come out and score 30, and he will. And, the Bucks will get eaten alive by that. Now, as you're trying to guard A, B, and C, you have this, E or F player coming out and, dropping a whole bunch of points. And it's like, well, we didn't account for him.
Yeah, I think that's a advantage that the Pacers do have going into this series, is the fact that if we'll see, but if he continues how he's been playing, and then you have Nebhard, who we haven't talked about yet, who's our team leader with technical fouls, by the way. Nice. So if we're getting scrappy, Portis and Nemby probably are going to be the 2 going, the first 2 you might look at. But Nemby's been a little inconsistent. So nights his offense looks great, but then he can't guard a chair. And then the next night he'll mark him against your best offensive player out. Well, not Giannis, but guard wise, and he'll do fairly well, but then he'll shoot like 1 of 20 from the field. It feels like it's one of those type of deals. But if you get consistency from him, obviously is another thing. It kind of stretches out a defense, right? Because you're looking at it from a Milwaukee standpoint. All right, where's Halliburton? Where's Siakam? Where's Turner? And then you get these 2 other guys that, oh, wait a minute, if they're continue to play their way they're playing, that does put stress on the defense, any defense for that matter.
Definitely. I think that, like Nemhard, 2.7 fouls per game against the Bucks, but he does shoot 66%. Or sorry, that's for the free throw. He shoots 45% from 3. It averages about 10 points a game for the Bucks, but he's had some problems with turnovers this year. Despite that, and I'm thinking that he'll match up with Porter, or he'll match up with Ryan Rollins. And now I know you were saying that some nights he can't guard, a cement wall, and other nights, he could clamp down everybody. Yeah. Do you foresee him having any issues with maybe Porter or Ryan Rollins, or a faster guard like that, a scrappier guard?
I don't. It's anything's possible. I don't think so. I feel like with the way the Pacers are playing, especially as of late, and I'm gonna take this last week of the season out of it, because that was barely counted. Yeah. But we'll just kind of start the second half of the season. I felt his defense was probably a little bit better than his offense. I mean, overall, it was still inconsistent. I do think that because he flipped it on in the playoffs last year too. It was Neesmith that kind of struggled, I feel like defensively is probably what he'll pick it up.
Okay.
Just because I feel like, with the way Neesmith's playing right now, right now, we'll see how come Saturday and then next week. But I feel like that he might be embracing that defensive role, especially with again having Matherin, in for this, and for the series this year as another offensive threat, and the lack of one thing I also talked to you about too, or I want to ask you about was your rotation, especially your players off the bench, because the bench has not been quite as potent for the Pacers this year as it was last year, but still been pretty good. And one of our better defenders, he's actually injured. I'm not sure if we're going to see him or not. At least maybe not for game one. So it's another reason why I kind of think he might just be, defensive minded to start the series at least.
Yeah. Speaking of the bench, so for a large portion of Portis's suspension, Doc Rivers decided to use three guys mainly. The best defensive player, I believe, that's on the Bucks. I do think Giannis is very good defensively, but Andre Jackson Jr. seems to be that guy who can really clamp down everybody. He's very aggressive on the boards. His offense isn't really there, but he can turn it on here and there. But it seemed like his poor performance at the dunk contest kind of equated to a bench role of warming the chair all night. So I don't think that we're going to see much, if any, of him in the series. So defensively for the Bucks, you won't have, or for the Pacers offensively, you won't have to worry about Andre Jackson Jr. covering anyone. But as far as the bench now, it depends on who Doc Rivers wants to roll out at point guard.
Right.
As I broke down at the start of the show, and I believe you saw the news as well with Damian Lillard, he will not be playing at least for the first probably 3 or 4 games, and he could be coming back, towards the tail end of the series, if at all.
Right.
So at point guard, we're looking at Ryan Rollins or Kevin Porter Jr. It depends on what Doc wants to do. Now, as Bucks fans, we saw Kevin Porter Jr. excel at a starting point guard position and have Rollins come off the bench. But it also, bodes a question of, do you want more firepower off the bench compared to in the starting lineup? But you can't go wrong with Rollins or Porter, just because Rollins has been on fire pretty much for the last month plus. I mean, I think he's averaging like 60 or 70% from the field shooting. In the last 10, he's averaging 55% from the field, 56 from 3, and 11.8 points per game. 4 assists. Outside of that game against the Hawks, where he came in and had 4 fouls in a minute and a half towards the end and killed that, he's been pretty good at limiting fouls. He's been pretty good at, leading the offense, I'd say, as a point guard. As you know, Giannis is always going to be the guy, but as a point guard, is playing, second or third or playing behind Giannis, I thought Rollins has been a pretty good fill-in. But as far as the bench, we do have AJ Green, who, once he injured his shoulder, has sat out a couple days or a couple games. I'm not sure if he was dealing with an injury before that, because it seemed like he just couldn't make threes. He couldn't do anything at all offensively. He was playing 30 minutes a game and scoring 4 points. And then all of a sudden he came back from that injury and he's lighting it up from 3, dropping threes left and right, shooting the ball really well. And I think that's going to be a big part of him coming off the bench for the Bucks is, if he could get that 55% three-point shooting that he's had in his last 10 games in 20-some minutes a game, that's going to cause some problems for Indiana. You also have Gary Trent Jr., who, like where Neesmith is off and on, Gary Trent Jr. is the same way. You might see him go, 6 of 8 from 3, and then the next night he's 1 for 8, and you don't know where he went. But
Right.
that's the top guy off the bench. And then you have Bobby as well, who defensively coming back from his suspension has not been the best. I wouldn't say he's been bad, but I'm not going to classify him as good defensively. Offensively, though, definitely a big part. I know in that comeback against the Timberwolves, he had a couple big threes at the end. In 3 games, he's had 16 points, 9.3 rebounds. He's excelled against Indiana with 15.5 points and 11 rebounds, as well as shooting 50% from the field. So I think definitely having Bobby around is going to help. The other guy that we should be getting back is Jericho Sims. Now, offensively, Sims is useless. Me and him have the same offensive ability. Defensive-wise, Sims is fast. He's aggressive on the boards. And for a big guy, he could keep up with guards. He could switch from guards to big men down low. And I don't believe that we're going to see more than maybe 5 to 10 minutes a game from him if we do see him at all. But he should be back. Now, I was reading something that said Saturday he shouldn't, I don't expect him to play Saturday, but the next game after that, we should expect to see him. Speaking of that, so I have it scrolling at the bottom, and I've had it scrolling at the bottom while we've been talking the series. It's kind of weird. I don't know if you saw the series breakdown, what days is stuff, but it's Saturday, Tuesday, Friday, Sunday, and then the following Tuesday, the 29th, if they need it. And then it's another Friday and Sunday. I just thought that was weird. Why have the playoffs have 3 games, 3 days off in between, or 2 full days off in between? I guess that's why the playoffs stretch so long. But do you think, now I'm just curious on this one, do you think that's those stretches where you play Saturday, 2 games off, Tuesday, 2 games off, Friday, do you think that's going to help the Pacers more, or do you think it's going to kind of hurt them as, you can't really get into that rhythm where in the regular season you might have a back-to-back 1 day off and then play another game?
Right. Well, I'll first track back a little bit. I did find out why today that there's such a big gap between games 1 and 2. Because at Gainbridge Fieldhouse on Monday night, Mary J. Blige is performing.
Oh, okay.
They're not going to kick Mary J. Blige out, so that's not going to happen. So
right.
So that's I found that out because my first thought was like, what kind of screwy TV deal is this? And
yeah.
Then, oh, wait, Mary J's playing. That's why. Fair enough. But to your question, I don't think so. I think it actually, if anything, it helps. And I know it sounds crazy because there's that belief, and I get it, of having time off or whatnot. Pacers, typically speaking, when they have time off, they come out and play well. They had the time off earlier in the season when they went to France to play San Antonio. Came back and won like 3 straight. And then obviously they've been playing good since the All-Star break and rolled off like they won like 5 or 6, 6 or 7 off the All-Star break. So it seems like each time they get some breaks, that doesn't really seem to affect them. And as gassed as they were at the end, especially guys like Siakam, for example, who'd been grinding all year because he had to for the first part of the year because half the team was hurt. You could tell he needed a break. So I think it'll help him, if anything.
Yeah, I agree from a Buck standpoint as well, especially with an aging roster. I mean, you do have Brook Lopez, who's old. I think that's definitely going to help. You have some younger guys. Now, I'm not too familiar with Kevin Porter history as well as far as playoffs and experience with that. But you do have Ryan Rollins, who's younger. You have AJ Green, who's younger. But you have Taurean Prince, who's a little older. Giannis obviously knows, he could play whenever. He doesn't care. Will Bobby having 25 games off, I think, not kind of straining him on too much. and having those days off is going to help. It's going to keep Brook Lopez healthy and energized, especially when, as we said earlier, the Pacers move the ball. If Lopez is going to have to, put energy out there and really run instead of doing his like jog walk, he's definitely going to need that extra rest. Kuzma has playoff experience as well, so he knows how that works. But it just seems like the Bucks overall also do better with a little bit more rest, I'd say. Especially, if you have a Taurean Prince or Gary Trent or AJ or, anybody has an off night, you have now a couple more days to rebound instead of, here's another,
right.
You play tomorrow, just forget about last night. And it's like, well, that's kind of hard in the playoffs. You're kind of beating yourself up. You get a day to forget about it.
Yep. I'm interested too. We're talking about breaks and we talk about the bench, right? How Rick Carlisle will bring, he's going to probably tighten up the rotation.
Yeah.
As a lot of coaches will do. And so I'm curious to see how that shakes out. I mean, obviously, Mather will be coming off the bench, obviously. And I expect to see TJ McConnell, who's had some decent games against the Bucks. He plays about 15, 18 minutes a game, but he averages almost 6 assists when he's in. So he's obviously, he's a off the bench facilitator, which is nice from a Pacers perspective. I'm curious to see if Jarris Walker, if he gets a significant amount of minutes off the bench or not. He seems to have finally found a spot in that lineup, off the bench, I mean. And his games against Milwaukee, and again in limited minutes, he's averaging about 8-9 points a game, and he shoots about 40% from three, which okay, fine, but he's got some defensive versatilities. I mean, it's a 6'7" forward, comes from that old Kelvin Sampson defensive minded Houston teams. And so he can play. He can guard your forward. He can also he'll match up on a guard as well. So I'm just curious to see how the rotations come off the bench for both teams, honestly, and just see, how that chess match works out.
Yeah, I'm definitely curious about the bench as well. Actually, I'm happy you brought up Jarris Walker because and McConnell, but Walker, I know in 2 games against the Bucks, I think he averaged like 20 some minutes a game and almost scored 8-9 points a game each time, and seemed like he was a guy that stole the ball. It was able to be handsy. I think he averaged like a steal and a half or 2 steals a game against the Bucks.
Yeah. Yep.
But I know TJ McConnell now 2.3 steals per game against the Bucks in about 18 minutes, which is considerable and something to note because over the regular season, 1.1 in 706 career games, 1.2 steals per game, and he doesn't foul. And he, is pretty consistent with turnovers at 1.3 against the Bucks compared to, 1.4 on the season. And this is more minutes against the Bucks than, during the regular season. And that's something to definitely watch for because Kevin Porter Jr. struggled with turnovers. Ryan Rollins, while he's, kind of controlled the ball, if you have a guy that's handsy and he hasn't really experienced that, especially with the playoffs in a completely different atmosphere, that's going to pose some problems. AJ Green, Taurean Prince, the Bucks have had problems with turnovers.
Yeah.
We saw that a lot recently as well, where they've played great, but the only reason that they've lost or we're losing is because they were getting crushed in the turnover battle. I mean, it would be 12-3. Bucks have 12 turnovers. The other team has 3. Kevin Porter, he's averaged in his last 10, he's averaged 1.6 turnovers a game, but 1.8 on the season. And it just seems like it's kind of been, where there's some games he'll have 3, 4, 5 turnovers. I mean, against Minnesota, he had 3. Against Denver, 4. New York, 3. Last Pacers game, he did not have any. 19 minutes, but the one where they lost, he had 2 turnovers, 3 fouls, and 9 points. But, you know, that's always been a problem, especially when he first joined the Bucks, as he was, I mean, it would, yeah, you see his handles, but he's kicking it off his knee,
Right.
or he's handing it right to the defense, or, his passing. I noticed with him, he'll foreshadow his passes, shows exactly where he's going to throw the ball, and then does it.
That's not ideal.
No. And I think that's going to be a problem with TJ McConnell if he does get, consistent 15 minutes a game, 16 minutes a game in the postseason, or even with Jarris Walker, if he gets, 10, 15 minutes a game as well. I think that's definitely going to be some problems for the Bucks. However, as you said about your bench, I'm curious on how the bench from Milwaukee is going to look. I know we do have locks with Kevin Porter, AJ Green, Gary Trent, and Bobby, but outside of that, I don't know if we're going to see anybody else. I would like to see Andre Jackson Jr. in there, but I wouldn't bet on it. I mean, his over-under for minutes played in the entire postseason might be, 5 minutes. So I don't think that he's going to see the floor. I personally, while, what I'm reading and what I've been saying is, you'll see him maybe 5 to 10 minutes. I personally don't think Sims is going to fit in anywhere, unless, it's later or Bobby and Brooke need, just have to sit down and, you can't play. If we're getting killed down low with Giannis and Bobby out there, you're going to have to try to put Sims in just to throw something off. But I don't foresee him really, playing all that much. But I think he's a guy that can really actually stop Siakam down low, or at least contain him a little bit and not have him get, a million boards or, score a million points in the paint. Is the Bucks kind of struggle with the paint on defense. However, on offense, they will attack the paint. I mean, you see Giannis the basket all the time.
Oh, absolutely.
The Bucks offense looks a lot better when Brooks sitting near the basket. Defensively, from the Pacers standpoint, does Miles Turner – I haven't watched too many games of the Pacers this year, or actually really any NBA team, with just my schedule and, college basketball, the Bucks playing and stuff. So that's my main focus here. But does Miles Turner and Siakam kind of stay down low on defense, or is Miles Turner more of that floater where he kind of just, moves up or moves down? It seems like the last time we played the Bucks, he did a pretty good job defensively. Both of them did, as far as, containing down low, limiting rebounds, stuff like that.
Turner's a great rim protector. He's always, near tops when it comes to blocks per game. I think he got shorted on a few this year. In fact, he joked about it recently in an interview. He's like, I feel like they didn't give me they haven't given me as much as they've given me in the past, and he laughed it off and all whatnot. But that's what I've always, I think sometimes, well, you've noticed it. People here have noticed, especially if he's been out, or if he goes out for a game, that paint opens up pretty significantly for the opposition. And even though some people here have been like, oh, he drives me nuts, I'm like, well, just wait till you don't know what you got till it's gone, and then all of a sudden he misses a couple games, and you're like, why is the opponent scoring so easily in the paint? Oh wait, so yeah, from a defensive standpoint, he's obviously he takes up space. He's lengthy, 7+ foot guy. That will cause you to well, I'm not going to be able to completely penetrate here. I got to kick this out, and then obviously for making shots, that works out great. But if not, then not so much. So
yeah,
Siakam on defense is he has his moments. I mean, I've seen him as of late. It's not been ideal, but I also think he just needed some time to recoup, if you will. But I like, from a defensive standpoint, I'm a big Neesmith guy. I touched on that earlier. We'll see. I think Nebhard will step up and, do a decent job on the perimeter. But hey, at the end of the day, you still have Giannis, and Giannis is going to do Giannis things. And I was looking at he's had some of his best games against the Pacers in his career. But I was shocked to actually see that you average out all the games. It's about 30 points. It's about, I guess, the same against the rest of the league. Then I feel better about this.
Oh yeah, it's interesting to note on blocks. Speaking of blocks, Brook Lopez averages 1.9 on the regular season. Against the Pacers, 0.3. And so that's something interesting I found. But I know Turner and Brook Lopez are definitely going to go at it down low. It's going to be very hard for Lopez to stay with Turner pretty much at the 3. If Turner wants to drive, I think he could blow past Brook Lopez. But actually, an interesting note is Turner averages 1.3 blocks against the Bucks and 2 blocks per game during the regular season. So they both don't seem to block as well against each other, which is nice. But Turner does shoot pretty well against the Bucks. 85% from the free throw line, 45 from the field, 30 from 3, averages 14 and 7. So I don't think Brook could keep up with him. As long as he shoots 1 of 8, like he did in that game that we lost from the 3, I'll be happy. Right. That means that he's not down low and he wants to keep trying to get this shot in. So before we wrap it up, what are your predictions for the series? Obviously Dame's going to impact if he does come back or not. But at least we do have some concrete of where we could say, hey, he won't play for, 3-4 games. So he could be back at the tail end, but he could miss it. So I don't know if your prediction changes for, if Dame does come back or if not.
I don't think so. As much as I like Dame, I've liked him since his days in Portland. I don't think the time, I know we were talking about time off and this, that, and the other. I think for him to get back in the lineup, if he were to come back, and I have no insight, obviously, I don't know. Something tells me he wouldn't come back this series, but I have been wrong plenty of times before. I think this is going to be I mentioned it to start, to be very physical, both sides. It's going to get chippy, and I think these games are going to mostly be close. There's always a one-off in a series. You're like, what? Okay, well, whatever. Chalk it up to the moon. I don't know. But being the homer that I am, I'm going to say a very hard-fought Pacers in 6. But I think every game, but maybe one will be like, with a minute to go, could be anybody's game.
I'm actually in total agreement. Pretty much all the way down to, I think it's the Bucks in 6.
That's fair. You gotta go with your boys, man.
Of course. I've actually been talking to some Bucks fans that think it's at 5. I don't think so.
I heard that here too. I'm like, I don't think so either.
I think one of these first 2 games, the Bucks will win in Indy, and Indy will steal a game in Milwaukee. And then, I think the Bucks can close it out. I think Porter's going to cause problems for Indy offensively, especially when he gets going. I think Giannis
best player on the court every game.
Last year.
Yeah.
And when he got hurt, that was a difference maker. Dame couldn't carry them. Nobody could. You can't pick up what Giannis has. Giannis can actually, by himself, lead the Bucks to the finals if he wants to.
The way he's been playing, I was going to ask you this real quick, and we got to wrap. But I think right now, just stretch that he's on, I think it may be the best basketball I've ever seen him play, and I'm talking the chip year as well.
I agree.
You could disagree, but I just, off memory, I'm like, now he's dishing out like dozen assists. I'm like, this guy's out of his mind.
He has I don't want to get this wrong. I think it's like 4 straight triple doubles.
It's insane.
Let's see. Okay, he didn't have one against New Orleans, but he had one against Detroit on Friday. He had one against Minnesota, against Miami, and against the 76ers, where it was a 35-20-17 game, which was the first time in NBA history someone had 35-15 and 15, or 35-20 and 15. He had back-to-back games where he had 71 points scored, 30 assists, and 32 rebounds. And I think that's the first time since Wilt or something that anyone's ever done that in back-to-back games combined. I would agree that down this stretch in their 8-game win streak to close out the season, Giannis has been absolutely insane. It's just been it's been wild to watch as a Bucks fan. And if he could play like this in every game in the playoffs, the Bucks could definitely turn it around against, the Knicks or Cavs or Celtics, because we haven't beat any of those all season. The Pacers actually are the only team that's ahead of the Bucks in the final standings this year that we actually had success with.
You won the series,
season series 3-1, but we can't beat the Thunder or anybody better. But yeah, if Giannis could play like this, personally, I always think that a team's going to steal one.
Mm-hmm.
But if Giannis plays like this, if I saw the Bucks win in 5 or even 4, I wouldn't be surprised. Just because of how Giannis is playing. Now, I definitely don't think that's going to happen, but I wouldn't be shocked by that. Especially, he's had 2 games shooting 90% from the free throw line, and this man shoots 15 free throws a game. But I think Bucks in 6. I think the Bucks are going to steal. I honestly think the Bucks are going to kick off the series with the win on Saturday. Then the Pacers, I think, are going to go up 2-1, win the first game in Milwaukee, and then the Bucks are going to end up, tying it up. And then, I think Bucks will end up finishing at home in Game 6 in Milwaukee and get that victory to advance. Now, I don't think they're going to go past the second round, but I definitely think
whoever wins this series is going to be in for a battle the next round, regardless. There's no doubt about that. But you know what, man, it'll be a fun series, like you said. I'm looking forward to it. I legit think it could go either way. I really, really do.
I as well. If
it went 7, it wouldn't shock me, man. The only thing that would shock me would be a sweep, even if Giannis is Giannis. But that would be the only thing that I'd be like, what happened? But
while a sweep would be shocking, if Giannis, scores 40, 20, and 10, or 40, 20, and 20 or something ridiculous, now that would be like, okay, well, Giannis won that. That is just that was his thing. But if they're complete games and it's just the Bucks pull it out, and it's a sweep, or even if the Pacers pull it out, I would be very surprised on a sweep.
Yeah.
I definitely think this series is going 6-7 games. Every game close. I wouldn't be surprised if we see 2 or 3 overtime games.
No, I wouldn't
be surprised if we saw, Halliburton or Giannis or Porter or, anybody make a game winner within the last, couple seconds. I definitely think that we're going to see some technicals get thrown.
Yep.
I think that we're going to see a player from each team get ejected in one of these games.
Yep, I'm calling by Game 2 or Game 3. Someone's been tossed.
Oh yeah, I definitely think. I think it might. If it doesn't happen in the first 2 games in Indy, that it's going to happen Game 3.
Oh, yep, for sure.
Yeah, and with the way Halliburton's been playing as well, he found a facilitator role along with a great shot in his defense. He's on that level where you could say, yes, this is an all NBA player right here.
Yep.
And the other thing that I think adds a little bit of motivation for him, despite him talking a lot of stuff again about the Bucks fans of I can't hear the crowd or anything like that. They're really not into it. And then the Bucks fans turn that around on him pretty quickly. But he is from Oshkosh, Wisconsin, which is only an hour and a half, about an hour outside of Milwaukee North. So he is from the area. So I think that gives him a little bit more motivation as well, and a little more what adds that spark to this series, and why I really think that it's going to add the chippiness as well. I think, honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if you see him and Giannis have words back and forth.
I'm sure they will. I'm sure they will.
Yeah, definitely some words, especially with Giannis just doing that with Malik Beasley. He did his little shimmy, and then they released the audio on that. And he was basically telling him to calm down, and he was talking stuff to Cade Cunningham as well. And Cade's like, "Well, I don't even know he talked like that." And it was a lot of fun. But Giannis is getting a lot more comfortable, just with American trash talking, I'd say. And you have Bobby Portis that's very aggressive and will stand on people. And I don't know if you saw that comeback victory for the Bucks against Minnesota, but Kevin Porter, I mean, he almost squared up with Rudy Gobert and was ready to fight.
Gobert. He's such a noble citizen, isn't he?
Yeah. Yeah. And how Indy will trash talk, I wouldn't be surprised if you see Portis or Porter definitely have a technical in game 2 or 3. By game 2 or 3, those two guys I definitely watch it out for with the Bucks. As far as I expect you guys to get a technical, but rein it in. But I think we're in agreement. It's going to go 6 or 7 games, and now outside of us being homers for our teams, obviously. Right. I think we're both in agreement that, if this series did go from my point of view, the Pacers way, or for your point of view, the Bucks way, I don't think we would be that surprised or, wow, we really let this down. It's more of this series can go either way. It's probably the best first round series that we have across the playoff board right now.
Most competitive series with the crappiest time slots.
I agree as well. I mean, we got a noon, 1 o'clock for you. I'll say Central. We're in Central. It's easier for me. But noon, 1 Eastern on Saturday. We have 7 p.m. Eastern on NBA TV. And then we're 8 p.m. Eastern on a Friday on NBA TV. Ridiculous. Or ESPNU, which, and then I don't know how it is in Indiana, but Milwaukee, we can't watch NBA TV if the Bucks are on it.
Oh, it's the same way here.
Yeah. So I have the FanDuel Sports Network. I'm not sure if Indiana is FanDuel Sports as well, but so basically we have to watch it on our regular broadcast with regular network. And then game 4, luckily we get TNT slot. However, we get the 9:30 p.m. slot.
9:30 Eastern. What are we doing?
Yeah, in Milwaukee at that. So in Milwaukee, it's an 8:30 p.m. tip. By the time the game over, it's 11 p.m. for a playoff game. That kind of takes some of the crowd out of it because it's late. Yeah. And it's a Sunday night. It's wrapping up the weekend. You got to work Monday morning. So, yeah, they definitely did not favor us in any of the time slots. In the favorable time slots, the 7 or 8 p.m. Eastern time slots, we get shoved on ESPNU or NBA TV. So they definitely didn't do us any favors, either one of us.
Didn't expect it either, but yeah.
No. Two small markets.
Yep.
They probably like, wow, who wants to watch this? And I think we're going to shock a lot of people with how close these games are going to be. A big toss-up. And it'll be a very fun series. I look forward to chatting with you and everything on the series. throughout the series, and it'll be a lot of fun. Very competitive, and I expect to hear some trash talk from you, and I'll give you a little bit as well.
You gotta have some friendly banter in there, man. That just makes it a little bit more fun.
Hey, that's what makes us sports fans.
Exactly right.
Well, thank you, Big Mike, for joining us.
Thank you, bro.
You can follow his show at Indie Sports at IESR, or his personal account at The Chill Mike on Twitter. Do you have any other social media or anything else you'd like to share?
That's pretty much it. My show is on Fridays at 4 p.m. Central, and we'll be focusing on the draft, actually, because that's my last show before the first round of the NFL draft. So we'll talk. Obviously, we'll touch some Pacers talk and whatnot, but yeah. So Fridays at 4 Central for me, and that's about it. So on the X platform. And I love interacting with the opposition. I just say, hey, just keep it. It's not get crazy here. I know I don't need a troll in my on my DMs or anything, but yeah, always enjoy the opposition's perspective.
As do I. I appreciate you being on, and you're lucky though. You got your show on Friday, so you can recap the first round of the draft and really talk about it. My show is obviously Wednesday. Luckily, I get it in Green Bay, so I get to stay in my region and talk the whole draft. So cool. Next week, I'll be breaking down my entire wherever that went, my entire first round mock, Packers picks, Pacers picks. Colts picks. So awesome. Give you a hint. I have an offensive player going to the Colts. So
do we. Doesn't matter.
So I'll definitely.
We're hoping anyway.
Huh?
We're hoping there's an offensive player coming to us at 14, but with our GM, who the hell knows?
Right. That's the same with how we view in Green Bay with the Packers. Is we hope it's that defensive player that we need, but obviously we could see an offensive guard or something, a center get picked. There's something weird off the wall pick. So. It'll be a fun draft. This is going to be a fun series. And again, appreciate you for spending time with me, break down this series. It's great having you.
Thanks a lot, buddy. We'll have to do it again, man. Had a really good time. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you. That was Big Mike. Down below, you could follow him at Indie Sports _IESR. That's his show's account. Or you could follow him at The Chill Mike. That's his personal account. You could follow this show at Whisk Whistle IESR. Again, that's at WISC Whistle IESR, or my personal account at Dyhard. We'll definitely be talking about that Bucks Pacers series on Twitter. Very, very in depth. It went a little long, so I'm going to cut. I want to hear a couple sponsors, and then we'll come back and wrap up the show. You're listening to the Wisconsin Whistle on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Hockey fans, I'm Adam Kernick.
And I'm Zach Puplis.
Together, we are the newest version of Hockey Talk on IE Sports Radio, The Neutral Zone.
Zone.
We love hockey, but we also know it's not everyone's first sport. So we want to make this show as much for new fans as for the diehards.
Whether you can name all the Swedes on the 08 Red Wings Stanley Cup team, or if you can't tell if Varlamov is a goalie or the latest trendy vodka, we're here to help. With facts, figures, and outrageous fans, we bring you all the hard-hitting hockey news you can handle, while still keeping it fun and on the rails. Well, mostly.
So tune in every week as we go around the hockey world, from college to Canada, the minors and the majors, and everywhere in between.
So bring your cellies.
And your one-timers.
Your wicked wristas.
And be sure to protect your five-hole.
Catch the Neutral Zone every week on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
We promise not to pick on the Arizona Coyotes every episode.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Davidson.
It's your boy, Notorious Law.
And we are the hosts of Fast Break here on IE Sports Radio, where we discuss everything in the world of basketball from prep to the pros.
You guys should definitely check us out, man. Sunday, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. We got all the basketball information you guys need, so we look forward to you guys listening in.
And please do, because we are the best basketball show on this side of the Mississippi. And please do check us out on Twitter at FastBreakISR. D-Lock, where's our time again?
8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. That gives you guys plenty of time on a Sunday.
Tune in.
All right, everyone, welcome back to the Wisconsin Whistle. I'm your host, Dan Vachalek, a.k.a. Dyhard. I'm going to wrap up the show talking some Brewers here. So they won 5-1 today. They won the series against the Tigers with the shutout victory last night, 5-0. And then they lost against Tarek Skubal, 9-1. They also lost the Arizona series 2-1. Shut out Arizona, game 1, 7-0. And then ended up losing game 2 with Arizona coming back to win that in the ninth. They scored 5 runs in the ninth inning to win that game. Very disappointing to see Piamps and McGill both play a part in that. Piamps, Brewers need to figure out what's going on with him on the year. He has like a 19 ERA. McGill does have a knee injury right now, and I'm curious on if he will miss any time from that. I don't think so. I think it's just a little bit of rest. However, Corbin Burns pitched very well. He had 55 strikes on 88 pitches, retired 11 of the 12 batters he faced, and the only exception on those last 12 batters, and why I noted that, is because the other one was a Jackson Chourio home run that made it 3-0, and Chourio has been on absolute fire. I mean, that home run was huge. And it's been very fun watching Jackson Chourio, do what he does, because he's like 20 years old. So watching him perform and, just ball out on the baseball field from the offensive standpoint, and he's good defensively, it is great. I mean, 5 home runs, 17 RBIs, both lead the Brewers offensively. Another guy who's been on a tear recently is William Contreras. Christian Yelich has 4 home runs on the year. While he is batting 172, he has been, hitting home runs. Is him, Rice Hoskins, and Sad Frelick all hit home runs today in the 5-1 victory. And I want to leave off with making a note about Jose Quintana. Now, I said we're going to get him back, and this was a great signing in the before the season started. I said this is a fantastic signing. There's been a Brewer killer. I remember when he was on the Cubs, and I believe in 2017, his first year on the Cubs. And I went to a Cubs-Cardinals game for my birthday on ESPN. It was a Sunday night baseball game on my birthday, July 23rd. And I went down there. I got tickets to go to the game. Went down there, and I'm like, you know what? I need a jersey. I'm at Wrigley Field. I'll buy a Cubs shirt or jersey and support them as a Brewer fan. Cubs, Cardinals, well, it doesn't really matter who you root for. So I said, you know what, I'm at Wrigley. that was the deciding factor, and ended up being Jose Quintana jersey. And I liked him when he was on the White Sox. So I said, okay, well, I'll grab this jersey. Just so happened, I actually didn't look at who was starting. I didn't look at any previews when I went. I said, I'm going to go down here blind, and I'm going to see everything, before the game and get into it. Well, before I walked in the stadium, bought that Quintana jersey, turned out he started that night. So I've been following him very closely ever since. So when he signed with the Brewers, personally, I was super excited. I've been a fan of him since 2012, his first season in the majors with the White Sox. And this year so far, he has not disappointed. He's had 0.71 ERA, 0.87 WHIP in 12 2/3 innings pitched with 6 strikeouts, 3 walks, and only 8 hits allowed and 1 earned run allowed, which was today. He had 5 innings pitched today. And so far, this has been, the gold star from the offseason and gold star for the Brewers. It has been his performance, and he's really stepped up at a time when the Brewers need this the most. They've dealt with a ton of injuries. So having Quintana really stand out and pitch well is going to be huge. He's a career 3.73 ERA, 1.27 WHIP, 1,729 strikeouts, averages 100 strikeouts a season compared to 35 walks. He limits hits, limits runners on base, more of a ground ball pitcher. He's exactly what you want, and I think the Brewers are going to really see that throughout the course of the year and be extremely happy with that. Brandon Woodruff will be making a start. I'm not sure what day, but he's supposed to be making a start coming up. I'm going to post it on the Wisconsin Whistle Twitter as well as my Twitter on what day he will be making that start. But he'll be making a start with the Wisconsin Timber Rattlers, the single-A, high single-A affiliate, low single-A affiliate of the Milwaukee Brewers up in Appleton, Wisconsin. So if you're in that area, or if you want to make a drive up there and you could grab a ticket for that game, they will sell out extremely fast, and they're very, they're affordable and a fun watch, fun game to go to. I've been to several, so definitely recommend if you can get up there for them for that game, just to see Brandon Woodruff, and he should be back within the next couple weeks. So I'm really looking forward to that. Looking forward to Nestor Cortez coming back as well. And I'm definitely looking forward to this Bucks-Pacers series. And Bucks in 6, just like when we won the chip. So that's it for the Wisconsin Whistle on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.